In the last session, we have discussed about female reproductive system and accessory ducts. In the accessory ducts, we have discussed about fallopian tube as well as uterus. Today, we are going to study another accessory duct of female reproductive system, that is vagina. The vagina is tube-like, muscular and elastic organ. It is about 4 to 5 inches long. So now, when we find this vagina, we can find that the vagina is a muscular organ. It is a muscular organ. This part is the vagina. It is a vagina. It is a muscular organ. So it is around 4 to 5 inches long. It connects the external genital organs to the uterus. So it is going to connect the genital organs to the uterus. It is an organ of sexual intercourse in women. So this through vagina only the sperms enters into the female reproductive tract. The vagina, it is lined with the mucous membrane and it is kept moist by the fluids which is produced by the cells on the surface and by the secretion from glands in the cervix. So this vagina will be always kept moist. So with the help of secretions of the cervix as well as some of the cells. So it is moist as well as it consists of certain fluids. The vagina is devoid of glands, so it is not having any glands, but vaginal orifice. Orifice means it is an opening. So this vaginal opening will be covered by a membranous structure which is called as hymen. So I am just drawing here roughly. In the next slide I will show you the diagram. Now this is a vagina. This vagina is covered partially by a membranous structure which is called as hymen. So this hymen is ruptured during the first coitus. In some women during coitus this hymen will be ruptured. In some women it is not ruptured even after the coitus. And in some of the women the hymen will be lost during cycling or during the jolt or horse riding. So the presence or absence of hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity. So depending on the presence or absence of hymen, we cannot decide whether the woman is virgin or not. Why? Because hymen will be ruptured even during exercises. So the vagina, we can tell that it acts both as a copulatory canal as well as it acts as a birth canal along with the cervix during parturition. It is called as a copulatory canal because it receives sperms from the penis, and it is called as a birth canal because with the help of the cervical canal as well as a vaginal canal, both of them will form a pathway for the delivery of the baby. So here one thing you have to keep in mind is fallopian tube, uterus and vagina, all the three of them are considered as a female accessory ducts. So here we are going to study about external genitalia, or it is also called as vulva. So here the external genitalia or the accessory structures So what are these external genitalia? Means they are accessory structures of the female reproductive system that are external to vagina. So this part is the vagina, this part is a vagina. So all these parts, so which are present outside the vagina, these parts like labia majora, minora, hymen, clitoris. So all these external parts are considered as external genitalia or vulva. So this vulva, the other name of vulva is pedundum. And this external genitalia, it includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, clitoris and the glands within the vestibule. You can find here, so this is mons pubis. So this is mons pubis. Mons pubis. The upper part is the mons pubis. So here we can find labia majora and labia minora, hymen, clitoris, and there will be many glands present. So all these together it forms external genitalia. So here first we are going to study about this mons pubis. So this upper part is called as a mons pubis. This is a cushion of the fatty tissues. So it consists of mainly the fatty tissues which is covered by the skin, and at puberty it will be covered by the pubic hairs. It also contains sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are nothing but oil glands. So the mons pubis, so it is present at the upper region of the external genitalia. The next part is labia majora. So this here we can find labia majora on the either sides of the vagina, covering it is nothing but labia majora. So these are the fleshy folds of tissues which extend from mons pubis and surrounds the vaginal opening. As I told you, from here the labia majora is starting and it is completely covering the vagina. So this is what is a fleshy fold. And this labia majora, it is considered as similar to the scrotum of the male. So please remember that labia majora is comparable to the scrotum in males. So both labia majora and the scrotum, so they have the homologous cells, hence they appear similar. So to see it is different, of course, but the things are, the cells present here and in the scrotum will be same. So it also consists of sweat and sebaceous gland which produce lubricating secretions. So it helps in lubrication. Next region is labia minora. We can find here, this is labia minora. Labia minora, so on either sides it is having the two-fold structures here. So this is labia minora. This labia minora is lined by the mucous membrane. It secretes mucus. Next one is hymen. So the opening of, this is a vagina opening and this is a hymen. So this hymen is partially covering this vagina, and as I have explained you this hymen, it will be completely ruptured in some women during coitus, or sometimes it is not ruptured. Even during exercises or cycling, heavy cycling or horse riding, this hymen, this fold membrane may disappear. So hymen does not indicate the virginity of the female. The opening of vagina, the vaginal opening is called as introitus. Please remember, the opening of vagina is called as introitus. The other regions are clitoris. So clitoris, this is a finger-like structure. So just a finger-like structure, the clitoris will be, this clitoris will be present in between the junction of labia minora. This is a labia minora. Two folds of labia minora will be present. So in between we can find that it consists of, so this is one fold and this is another fold. At the junction of this, the clitoris will be present here. The clitoris is somewhat finger-like structure. A finger-like structure it will be present. So this clitoris is similar to the penis of male. So next thing is urethra. You can find here this is the opening of urethra. So this opening helps in excretion of urine. It collects urine from urinary bladder. From this opening of urethra, urine will be released. And the end point of this, that is the vagina, we can find the last part of this labia majora, it is called as fourchette. There is a gap between the fourchette as well as the anus and it is called as perineum. So now this is a labia majora. Imagine this is a labia majora and this is a anus. This is a anus. So now the gap between these two is called as perineum. It is called as perineum. It is called as perineum. So as I have already discussed, the opening of urethra, it is going to carry the urine and from the bladder to the outside. It is just located above and in front of vaginal opening. As I already told you, the clitoris is a finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of two labia minora just above the urethral opening. Please remember that it corresponds to the penis in the male. This is a very important point. And the area between the fourchette and the anus is called perineum. Fourchette and the anus is called perineum. As I drawn, fourchette is nothing but the end region of labia majora. The nature of vagina is acidic in nature because its pH is 4.5. That protects vagina against infections. So any bacteria or virus, anything enters into the vagina, it will be killed because it is having acidic in nature. The vagina together with cervical canal is called birth canal. It's very important and it is an organ of intercourse. Why? Because from this vagina only the sperms will enter into the female reproductive tract. Next we are going to study about female accessory glands. So there are two female accessory glands are present. The first one is Bartholin glands or it is called as greater vestibular glands. So there are one pair of Bartholin glands are present on the lateral side of vagina and its Bartholin ducts will open into vestibule. So these are Bartholin glands. So this is a vagina. This is a vagina and both on either sides you can find the Bartholin glands are present. They are reddish yellow glands. So they are present on the lateral sides of vagina. Please remember that. And this glands will secrete a alkaline watery fluid. So it produces a alkaline media which helps in lubricating and neutralizing the urinary acidity. So here, as in the urine, the acid content will be present. If there is more acid content, the sperms which has entered, it may die. So here this Bartholin glands is going to produce a fluid which is going to lubricate and it neutralizes the urinary acidity. It is homologous to Cowper's gland of male. So please remember the Bartholin gland or the greater vestibular glands, they are homologous to Cowper's gland of male. The next glands are nothing but Keynes glands, or it is also called as lesser vestibular glands or paraurethral glands. So these glands are located on the anterior region of the vagina, just above the urethra. So these are the glands, Keynes glands, which are present at the upper region of the vagina, and they are going to secrete a lubricating fluid. It also secretes a fluid which helps in lubrication. So it is homologous to prostate gland in case of male. So please remember all these points. So Keynes gland is similar to the prostate gland of male, and the Bartholin glands are similar to Cowper's gland of the male. So next we are going to study about mammary glands or breast. So the breast is a modified sweat glands. So there are pair of mammary glands are present which are rounded prominences present over the pectoralis, a major muscle on the front wall of thorax. So the muscle which is helping in giving support is pectoralis major muscle. Of course, these mammary glands are rudimentary in male, means they are not developed. Whereas in case of female, they remain undeveloped till the puberty. So after puberty, the development of this mammary glands will take place with the influence of estrogen and progesterone hormones. So on the external view, if we see, the breast has a projection called nipple, which is surrounded by a rounded hyperpigmented area called areola. It appears deep pink or light brown in color. On the surface of the areola, we can find there are many numerous sebaceous glands are present, which are called as areolar glands. So internally, the breast consists of three tissues: glandular tissues forming mammary glands, the fibrous tissue, and the fatty tissue. So till now what we have studied is nothing but, so it consists of, the main thing is tissues, three tissues. Please remember, glandular tissues are there, fibrous tissues are there, as well as fatty or adipose tissues are present. So here we can find a diagram which shows all the parts. So here we can find this is a pectoralis major muscle. So this is a muscle, and here are the muscles which are present between the rib. As the breast is present in the chest region, it is supported by the muscles in the rib as well as pectoralis major muscle. So as I told you, it consists of three regions, or we can find tissues. So these are considered as a glandular tissue. It is a glandular tissue. And then we have studied a connective tissues, fibrous connective tissues. Connective tissues will be present here and there. Connective tissues will be present in between here and there. The connective tissues will be present. And then this is a fatty tissue or adipose tissue. So these are the three parts which we have studied in the last slide. Three tissues are present: glandular tissue, connective tissue, as well as fatty tissue or adipose tissues are present. These are the three regions or the tissues present in the breast. Now we are going to study mainly first about glandular tissue. First, we are going to study about glandular tissue. So now the glandular tissue comprises of 15 to 20 lobes. So you can find here the lobes. The lobes here you can find. So these are the lobes. So each single one is one lobe like this. So each breast will have 15 to 20 lobes. So each lobe is composed of grape-like clusters of milk-secreting glands called alveoli. So here a single one, each single one, single round here, each and every single one is called as alveoli. It is called as alveoli. So this each and every single alveoli is responsible for production of milk. So next we can say that the alveoli, once it is going to produce, imagine now this is a single alveoli. Alveoli is responsible for producing the milk. After the milk is secreted, the milk produced in the alveoli, it will pass into the mammary tubule. So it enters into mammary tubules. So now here imagine this is one more alveoli. This is a mammary tubule. So now from the mammary tubule the milk will enter into mammary duct. So now two or three mammary tubules will join together to form a mammary duct. I will show in the next slide animation also. Just for at present, you just see here the mammary. This is a alveoli. Alveoli is going to produce a milk and that is entered into the mammary tubules. From mammary tubules, it enters into the mammary duct. So this is a mammary duct. So from the mammary duct, as it moves further front, it swells. It swells to form ampulla. It swells to form ampulla called mammary ampulla. Here the milk will be stored for some time and then it enters into the lactiferous duct. It enters into lactiferous duct. From lactiferous duct through the nipple it is released out. So I'll just write here, I'll draw here. So this is a alveoli which is responsible for secretion of milk. Once the milk is secreted, it enters into the tube. This tube is called as mammary tube, mammary tubule. So many mammary tubules. Imagine now here also there is a mammary tubule. Many mammary tubules will join together to form a mammary duct. It forms a mammary duct. So mammary duct, once it moves front, it swells to form ampulla. It forms ampulla where the milk will be stored for some time. and then it enters into a duct which is called as lactiferous duct. It is called as lactiferous duct. So from lactiferous duct through the nipple, the milk is ejected, released, or it is sucked by the baby. Okay, so the pathway is mammary alveoli, from there mammary tubule, then mammary duct, as well as mammary ampulla and lactiferous duct. So next thing is the fatty or adipose tissue is found between the lobes and covers the surface of the gland. So this is a fatty tissue. So you can find the fatty tissue is present here also and here also. So depending on the amount of fatty thing present, that is a fatty or adipose tissue present in the breast, it indicates the size of the breast. If the fat deposition is more, the size of the breast will be bigger in size. If the fat deposition is less, the size of the breast will be small. So next we are going to study the main function of this mammary glands are secretion and ejection of milk. And these functions are called as lactation. And this is work when it is during in the pregnancy stage as well as in the childbirth. During pregnancy, the mammary gland will grow, and after the childbirth there will be a secretion of the milk. So the milk production is stimulated by a hormone called as prolactin hormone, which is secreted by anterior lobe of pituitary gland. And after the milk is secreted, the ejection of milk, please remember this point. For the secretion or stimulation of the milk production, it is done by hormone prolactin. So prolactin helps in milk production, whereas ejection of the milk, the coming out of the milk from the mammary gland, it is done by a hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin, it is released from a posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. So here mammary glands are the modified sweat glands. So you can find here, so pectoral muscles, they are going to help in supporting and holding the mammary glands. So it consists of fatty tissue, as well as here whatever you are seeing is a glandular tissue. So this glandular tissue, as we have discussed, it consists of alveoli where the milk is secreted, and it enters into mammary tubules. So 2 or 3 mammary tubules will join together to form mammary duct. The mammary duct forms a swelling called ampulla. Ampulla, it leads to lactiferous duct where the milk enters, and then it enters into the nipple and it is released out. So in the next session, I am going to explain about gametogenesis.